okay, so if I am out here and I find out that someone's throwing a party that me and them really don't really fuck around with each other like that, I think that it's a really dramatic inviting for me to show up at their party uninvited. I feel like anything, it's my right. Like, listen, you want to go, but don't be surprised at what happens in consequence of you deciding that, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I want to do. You don't show up to people's anything uninvited, and I get it, because I think we've all done a drive-by or something like that, you know what I mean? We're like, ooh, honey, but it's like, that there's an energy there that you're letting in that, quite frankly, you're inviting a certain energy in, and then having the expectation that someone would come to your rescue. I don't know. That's a lot. And she, Amanda said, well, if I was sitting there watching a situation like this, I would have for sure stood up for the person and said, what the fuck's going on? Like, whatever. And I get that, but I think the valuable lesson to learn here is just because you behave in a particular way does not mean that you can expect that everybody should do so, and the lack of them behaving in a way that you deem correct would then make them your enemy if they don't behave in that way. So I'm just wondering, as they are currently filming Insecure, the new season, how does this all play out? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean for her role? What does that mean for her career? Like, is she creating a hostile work environment? And part of her reasoning was like, oh, well, it's an event for black actors and actresses in Hollywood, and that's what I am, so I'm gonna be there. I know, but it's an event for those people, and they've been invited. So even if you say, okay, so the whole cast of Insecure has been invited. Granted, that may be a plausible statement, but at the end of that all, you don't get along with someone who's throwing this party. Like, this is beyond high school where, like, oh, so I don't get along with the popular girl. She's throwing a Sweet 16, and I want to be in the building to see, like, what the fuck's going down. But I don't fuck with her. It's really immature, and I just felt like, girl, like, you picked up on some energy that you was putting out there, sis. That's it. The world just showed you, it just, like, mirrored back. That's all that happened. Now, I still love you, Amanda. I love you. I ride with you on a lot of things. But the way that you handled that situation was impulsive and reactive. And then and, like, listen, I think that anyways. And then using your platform to then talk about side effects of professionalism, right? Is what you named the episode. And you talked about this situation, and you talked about the fact that this is Issa's publicist. I think that, like, one could make the assumption that you're saying both Issa and this woman are unprofessional. But you also did something unprofessional. I mean, Issa's your boss. She's your boss, bro. I mean, for all intents and purposes, right? She's your boss. So, like, what the hell? What you doing, sis? You could have done this a different way and garnered more attention for the fact that there are parties being thrown for black actors and black actresses that are handpicking which ones should come to be celebrated. You can make an argument for that. It's just like saying you can make an argument for what it is for excusing your bad behavior. I sense the theme. People like to exhibit bad behavior and then say it's because of this and you should excuse my bad behavior because this happened, which that's the reason why I'm behaving badly. No, girl, you can't do that. But, that's just my thing about that. All right. Last but not least, because I know y'all been salivating chomping at the bits. But Jesus is still king. Oh, yes. Kanye West dropped his 11-track album, Jesus is King. I have so much to all right, first of all, the album. Let's just talk about the album first, right? The album has 11 songs on it or whatever cuts on it. I don't know. The album starts at a really amazing level. The choir is breathtaking. And as a Christian, I definitely was like, yes, I was moved. I was moved emotionally, though. I don't necessarily know that I was moved spiritually. Dig that. But yeah, I was moved emotionally. I was like, yes, choir, yes. And then right around the middle, it kind of levels off into being convoluted thoughts. And then it kind of just deep dives into a sense of awkwardness, misunderstanding, and spiritual confusion. Listen, I think if we're just going to talk about just music let's just talk about it from a musical perspective. Let's not even talk about it from a Christian perspective. I don't want to say a spiritual perspective because, that is different than what's happening here. And he's talking about he's a Christian and okay, cool. I don't know about his spirituality because I don't know. But from a musical perspective, I think that the choir is effortless in their sound. I think that they are amazing in kind of the vocal acrobatics that they display. I think that Kanye's bars are lackluster at best. I am not comparing him to even The Life of Pablo or Kids See Ghost. I'm just saying as a rapper in general. All right, let me put it to you this way. Guap Dad 4000, Oakland's very own Louis Vuitton Don, the real Louis Vuitton Don, the gentleman that graces Gucci, the fine sir that brought us Fendi Facts. Guap Dad 4000 also dropped an album. Guap Dad's album lyrically is better than Kanye's. And that's just it. Now, side note, what the hell happened to Guap Dad 4000 yesterday? And for all of y'all that don't know who Guap Dad 4000 is, shame on you. But, so wait, I heard that he got beat up by a New York rapper named Russ, who I've never even heard of before, but okay. But if you listen to both albums, I would say that Guap Dad's album is a better album. So yeah, I'm not sure if any of you got the opportunity to hear Kanye's interview with Zane Lowe, which you can find on Apple, Beats One, I believe. And the interview is difficult to follow at best. And all that I was able to get from the interview was that Kanye felt like he was some sort of legend for having this interracial relationship with him being black and her being white and it being kind of blown up in the media. He felt like he was some sort of forefather of interracial relationships. You gotta listen to it. It's very weird. And he talks about, his first encounter with pornography at, 5, finding one of his dad's Playboys and how that led him to have a sexual addiction. And, he talks about this being the most difficult year of his life. Listen to why it was difficult. Because he had to deal with the backlash of his opinions as far as slavery being a choice, and as far as the MAGA hat and, you know, the Donald Trump thing, and you know, just like the way people reacted towards him, especially Black Twitter, and him being canceled and him not caring because he's been canceled. Yeah, it was weird. And because I felt like I needed more context and color surrounding this album, because maybe that will cause me to hear it in a different way. I also watched his interview with Big Boy. And in that interview, which was also difficult to follow at best, not because they weren't asking, either interviewer wasn't asking direct and complete questions. It just felt like Kanye was he could not keep his thoughts together to focus enough on answering any question, you know? So his answers would be layered with all kind of like thoughts and like creative things running through his mind, and, you know, him being persecuted for different things and what that means to him. And it just was, I don't know. I'm going to say this. Hearing the album and getting these two interviews, you know, listening to both of them, I don't know that Kanye West wants us to feel sorry for him, but I do feel, I do feel empathy for him. And I also feel a sense of extreme empathy for Kim. And I say that because, number one, I wonder if this is what she signed up for, if she signed up for the Kanye West that we all know. So then when you're in it and you are, you know, 3 marriages deep in, and you're fighting your own perceptional things, and you marry him and you find out that it is not what you signed up for, but you're in it, and it's too late for you to go anywhere, and all of this is happening, and dig the juxtaposition that Kim would be doing the work that when Kanye was on the Hurricane Katrina marathon, and he said George Bush does not like black people. The work that Kim is doing is the work that I thought, or that many of us thought, that Kanye would be doing. Because if you go back, you would think, okay, so that's the guy who's going to do this work. You would never think that Kim, that Kim, that you guys, we all have the stigma about, that Kim would be doing this work. Because ultimately, all of the things that Kanye is talking about, I mean, in his convoluted way, it's like at one point he's talking about how unfair things are because he's black, but then he's also saying, get up off that black shit because that's not a thing. We passed that now. He's saying that, like, the people that we need, that he wants to be acknowledged by people who are the culturalists. However, the culturalists are the devils. But he wants to be on the same Mount Rushmore as the culturalists. It's very weird. It's very weird. I think that Kanye actually suffers from the same megalomania that Nicki suffers from, and that a lot of people in general suffer from. I think that, like, he wants to be acknowledge